Hi there, how we doing? We doing good? That's great. So, today I just want to sit down and talk with you guys for a little bit about my 2019 year in review. Now, I made a video last year about this exact same topic. I made a video basically overviewing what went on in 2018, and a lot of my focus that I talked about in that video for 2018's year in review was about the growth of the channel, because obviously the main instinctive for me to make my 2018 year in review at that time was because there was such a big impact in my life that happened in 2018, that being this channel just shooting off out of nowhere. And it was just a big event. So I wanted to make a video expressing how I felt about the changes that were happening because of that. And that year was more of a year just for change in the channel. Not as much change in myself personally, but this year we are completely flipping the script. It is actually quite the opposite this year. For 2019, I have been thinking a lot about where I am personally in my life. And one big thing that I've been thinking about is that obviously I have been trying to have a more mature mindset on where I want to be in my future. Thinking about where I want to be and, just start maturing in that certain way. Obviously, I have my immature jokes. That is never going to change. I'm never going to change that about myself. But in terms of the more mature side of me, I want to make sure that mature side of me does, in fact, live up to the name of being a mature side of me. And one thing that I've also been trying to evaluate about myself that I don't think I've been making a big enough focus on in previous years is making sure that I am adjusting myself into a healthy enough environment that'll put me in a good state mentally, which, because of me making this change, because of me committing to wanting to make these changes in my life this year, there's been a lot of trials and tribulations that I have had to face, and a lot of tiny problematic areas this year that ultimately may have hurt me for a little bit. But the thing is, there were some areas this year that hurt me only a tiny bit. There were some areas that absolutely destroyed me for a little bit. But ultimately, if there was one theme that never happened compared to any bad year that I had had in the past, it's that I rised up from the issues that I had, and I made something out of it. And I'm able to sit here and tell you guys that I have conquered everything that I dealt with, and I've been able to commit to these changes that I'm making in my life. A lot of these trials and tribulations that I have had to face have involved me having to either cut back on my involvement with certain friends because I feel as if I'm putting too much of myself into them as a person. And it's also, in some cases, it's led to me losing people who didn't understand my point of view that I personally feel as if it was acceptable. In a lot of cases, I never tried to cut people out of my life fully, but unfortunately, in some cases, that is what ended up happening this year, because our viewpoints on it just weren't the same. But ultimately, one thing that I have 100% realized through overcoming the damage that was done from those losses is that I am healthier mentally now. I am so much healthier. Even outside of my social life having a slight change, I have also evaluated stuff with YouTube, which, like I said, the script was kind of flipped this year compared to last year. Obviously, last year, it was more of a big impact on the channel rather than my personal life. But this year, it is more of an impact on my personal life rather than YouTube. As you guys are probably aware, I haven't been uploading as frequently this year, mainly towards the second half of this year. I think the first half of this year, I was still pretty consistent, but obviously I am nowhere near as consistent when it came to the second half of the year, because the second half of the year was where I really was starting to change things about myself. It was really especially for YouTube, I was in a stage where I was having to evaluate, what do I want to do with this channel? And to be truthful with you guys, I'm still thinking about it. I really am. And I think I'm starting to really make progress with evaluating where I want to be, though. So ultimately, that is a step in the right direction. I am making progress, and I assure you guys, I really want to start uploading more often. And I you know, one thing that I did very recently, if you guys were tuned in for this, I did a live stream. I started kind of getting back into the swing of live streaming, see how things were for that. And I know previously when I did live streams, I actually was a bit anxiety driven with them. And that was mainly due to the fact that I was genuinely afraid of facing technical issues and a lot of people pointing them out. And that's not, this is not to say that I probably don't still face that issue, but at least with the stream that we had of doing Jackbox Party a couple days ago, I didn't face any technical issues. And I mean, I kind of just did that stream as a spur of the moment thing to see if, hey, maybe that's something that I can enjoy doing here. And honestly, guys, I really enjoyed streaming. I enjoyed doing it a ton. I enjoyed the interaction with the fans, and that on top of Jackbox being a game where I was able to interact with my fans that much more. I mean, it was honestly crazy. And I was thinking to myself after I did that stream, obviously I have mentioned that I want to start getting back into corruptions, and I do, but also I kind of feel like, in a way, I don't know if I want to do it in more of a stream format or a video format, because ultimately I do believe that if I want to keep a steady traction with the channel, video form is probably going to work better, because no one is going to want to watch hours long of just corruptions, especially if I'm going to do a corruption stream, it is probably not going to be about a specific game that people are looking for me to corrupt. But, you know, I'm still figuring things out. We're still working things out with the channel. And ultimately, the number one thing that I've realized is that in terms of my thought process about it, I'm not as lost with it anymore. There's still progress to be made, but I am closer to figuring out what exactly I want to do to make sure that I can still build up the revenue that I need to make my future happen, while also enjoying what I do. Whether that thing that I enjoy doing is something that I didn't enjoy doing for a good while, like corruptions, which I'm starting to ease back into again, or if I just straight up want to go for the mental health videos and make them on a more consistent basis, despite them not doing the best performance-wise on the channel, because it's not what I was initially blown up for, you know? And on top of that, I mean, even taking into account things that have helped me throughout the process of realizing things, especially with what I want to do as a career. Obviously, as you guys know, I want to be a therapist. And there have actually, I mean, this year in specific, it actually feels like there's been a lot of things that have come out, media coverage-wise, that have actually been able to fuel my drive for me wanting to do what I want to do. A lot of inspirations for me overcoming the trials and tribulations that I've faced, as well as a lot of ones that just have fueled my drive for what I want to do as a career. A couple of these things probably consist of, for instance, the release of the Joker movie that came out this year. The Joker movie for me wasn't something I was too invested into watching before it came out, but I remember not long after the movie came out, my sister was over one day and she talked about how she had went to go see the movie, and the rough idea that she gave me about the movie was that it was very psychological based. It was very based around mental health. And that to me was something where I was like, hold on. And you know, I personally am not too into superhero related things, but you know, from what I heard, the Joker movie was a lot less attached to Marvel and, you know, DC related things. And it was just the focus of how like a Joker origin came to be based on mental health issues and issues that Arthur Fleck, the main character of Joker, has. And I watched the movie and it was so incredibly fascinating, and I just loved every bit of it. And then on top of that, there was the release of my favorite metal band artist, Slipknot's new album, We Are Not Your Kind, released this year. Given the impact Slipknot has had in terms of how I look at the meaning of music, especially in lyrical form, the album they released this year was darker, had a darker theme to it. And ultimately, I think anything with Slipknot's music has a meaning that I can really take something away from after listening to it. But I feel like I do best and take away the most from their darker music, such as stuff from their albums, such as Iowa, stuff like that. And We Are Not Your Kind, I mean, it was another good example. There was a lot of realness in the lyrics on this album, and I'm going to try and stray away from getting on a tangent about the album and really praising it, but it had a huge impact, and I had the album on loop for quite a while, and it had such a big impact. So yeah, that is basically a rough idea of my 2019 year in review. I think I probably did a lot of rambling on about specific things this year, so I really do apologize for doing that, but like I said, this year has been another very impactful year for me, not in the sense of YouTube, but my personal life. So I just want to thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart for still supporting me through all of these weird hiatuses I've been going on, such the wacky, inconsistent schedule I've had. But I just want you guys to know that usually if I am being very inconsistent on the channel, just know there are things I'm trying to work on to better myself and to ultimately ensure that at some point when I begin to have that consistent schedule again, that I can make it into something that both I can enjoy and that you guys can enjoy. That is really what I am working on behind the scenes when I am on these weird, inconsistent schedules. But ultimately, I just want to make sure that the videos that I make on here are the happiest and healthiest videos I can make, and I want you guys to be able to notice that. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video, and I will see you recruits in the next video. Peace.